If you're a graduate student or an early career researcher, you definitely know the feeling. Trying to turn this mountain of research into a clear, compelling paper, it can be, well, pretty daunting. So in this explainer, we're going to break down a practical roadmap to get you from that scary blank page to a published article. Let's get right into it.
Oh yeah, we have all been there. That blinking cursor on a blank page can feel absolutely paralyzing. It's like you're supposed to just conjure a whole research paper out of thin air. It's a totally universal feeling. But the good news is, there is a strategy to beat it, and it all starts with understanding what the real problem is.
And you know what? It turns out this isn't just a writer's problem. As this quote points out, it's a reader's problem too. The goal isn't just to write something, it's to write something that people can actually understand. So let's look at a roadmap that avoids that frustration for everybody, both for you and for your audience. Okay, so we're going to tackle this whole thing in 5 pretty manageable stages. We'll kick things off by really understanding the blank page problem. Then we'll move on to finding your core idea, adopting an early writing strategy, crafting clear prose, and finally, harnessing the awesome power of feedback. It's a journey, but a clear one, from problem to polished paper.
So, let's dive into our first section, the blank page problem. The key here is to just reframe this moment. Staring at a blank page doesn't mean you're failing. It's the universal, kinda unavoidable starting point for every single researcher. So the first step is simply to acknowledge it, not fear it. Now, how do we move past it?
Well, to solve that blank page problem, you've got to know what you're trying to say. And that brings us to our second and, arguably most important section, finding your big idea. This isn't about writing just yet. It's about the fun part, the exploration, the discovery, and finding that one single central message that's going to anchor your entire paper. And this, right here, perfectly illustrates the ultimate goal. The whole point of your paper is to transfer one single, powerful, reusable insight from your brain to your readers. If your reader can't take your core idea and use it, or apply it, or build on it, then the paper really hasn't done its job. So clarity around this one big idea is absolutely crucial. So how do you find that insight? Here's a super practical process. Start by just talking to seniors and professors. Then you're going to cast a wide net, download and really truly understand more than 30 papers in your general area of interest. As you read, your mind will start making connections. Then go back to your mentors to mirror your focus, and then dive deep with another 20+ papers on that very specific topic. That first batch of over 30 papers, that's your discovery phase. Think of it like mapping the territory. You're not looking for your final answer yet. Nope. Instead, you're just immersing yourself in the academic conversation, getting a feel for the landscape, the key questions, and who the major players are. This stage is all about breadth, not depth. Then comes the second, more focused batch of 20 or more papers. Okay, so after you've narrowed your topic down with some feedback, this is where you go from being a tourist to a resident. You're now building deep expertise, actively looking for gaps or potential modifications or improvements you can make. This is where your unique contribution, your reusable insight, is really going to start to take shape. All right, so now you have the seed of an idea. Let's move on to our third section, your early writing strategy. The big question here is when to start writing. And I got to tell you, the answer might surprise you. This next strategy has the power to completely change your workflow for the better. Here it is. The common wisdom is, do all your research, get all your results, and then you start writing. But our source material argues this is one of the biggest misconceptions in academic writing. The real power comes from starting much, much earlier than you think. But why? What's the benefit? Well, writing with just a microscopic idea actually forces you to clarify what you're trying to say. It immediately shows you what research you still need to do to support your claims. And, just as importantly, it prevents you from going down all those irrelevant rabbit holes. Plus, it gives you a tangible draft to discuss with colleagues, which often sparks new insights you wouldn't have had otherwise. Okay, so you're writing early and you're writing often. But what should that writing actually look like? That brings us to our fourth section, crafting clear prose. This is really the art of communication, and it's where you make sure that brilliant insight you've discovered doesn't get lost in translation. Here's a really practical checklist for clarity. First, keep your sentences and paragraphs short and focused. Use formatting like headings and bullets to guide the reader, but don't overdo it. Make sure there's a logical, unbroken thread connecting your title all the way to your conclusion. And remember, a
A simple, clear graphic is often way more powerful than a dense paragraph of text.
Now let's talk about voice really quick. Active voice, like you see on the left, is all about clarity and ownership. It's direct. It's usually more powerful. The researcher conducted the experiment. Boom. Passive voice on the right has its place. Sure, it can be useful sometimes, but it should be used sparingly. Your default should always be clear, active, direct prose.
We've reached the final stage of our journey, the power of feedback. You've found your idea, you've written an early draft, and you've polished your prose. But you're not done yet. The last and absolutely crucial step is to put your work through what we'll call the crucible of refinement, getting honest, constructive feedback.
I really can't overstate this. Seeking feedback isn't just about catching typos. It's about testing the clarity of your core idea. I mean, you know what you meant to say, but did it actually land with your reader? Feedback is the only way you can truly know.
And when you ask for feedback, this is the single most powerful question you can possibly ask. Don't just ask, "So, what do you think?" Ask your peers to pinpoint the exact moment they got confused or lost the thread of your argument. That, right there, that's gold. It tells you exactly where your draft needs work.
Look, receiving criticism, especially from a formal peer review, can be tough. It can sting. But, as the slide says, the key is to just approach it with an open mind. See, every piece of feedback, even the really harsh comments, is an opportunity for growth. It's a chance to make your paper stronger and your core idea even clearer.
So that's our roadmap. It all begins not with writing, but with a quest for a single, reusable idea. Then you write early to clarify that idea for yourself. You craft your prose for maximum clarity, and finally, you embrace feedback as the tool that's going to sharpen your work to perfection.
And that leaves us with one final thought. As you start thinking about your next project, don't just think about the topic. Ask yourself this: what is the single, clear, reusable insight that you want to transfer from your mind out into the world? Answering that question, that is the true beginning of any great research paper.